please feel free to share where you're joining from in the chat. It is wonderful to have all of you here. And just joining from, and we can shout out where some folks are joining from. And
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
From Kampala.
Kampala. Caribeño.
Southwest Florida, Arlington.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Key West.
Mm-hmm. Oakland.
Oakland.
Yeah.
Ooh, some people are up early.
Canada, Halifax, Canada.
Wow.
We have also Canada.
Wonderful.
Very special. Denver, Texas.
Our neighbor.
Silver Spring in the house.
Seattle,
Massachusetts.
Wow. Bay Area. We have Bay Area.
They're up early. Thank you for so much.
Yes.
We have Norway.
From Norway. Wow.
This is Dr. Martin from Norway. Actually, is a friend. Is in Norway. Wow.
And Reston's in the house. That's my neighborhood. All right now.
Shout out to Silver Spring.
we have a whole world.
There you go.
Norway.
Well, yeah. And more and more folks are joining. Just to say that however you are showing up today is welcome. We welcome you as you are mentally. We welcome you as you are physically, emotionally. We welcome all gender expressions. We welcome all abilities. This is a safe place and a welcome space for any and all in every which way.
And I'd love to make a special shout out and giving thanks to Trisha and Glenn, Trisha Stotler. And Trisha is I always want to call you our executive director, but I think she's director of programs. And she's still here today, even though she just broke her arm. Check it out, y'all. But Trisha's been a part of planning this gathering. So I want to acknowledge and thank Trisha. And also Glenn, who stepped in to do the Zoom technology at the last minute to help Trisha out. We always appreciate Glenn. He's always on the money.
Yeah. And thank you, a huge thank you to IMCW in general for being willing to host this wonderful event. Yeah. Bante, you got a shout out from Bante Rahula
Is he here?
I'm not sure, but somebody just wanted to pass on a message to say that Bante Rahula says hi.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yes,
yeah,
awesome.
That's wonderful. Yeah, that's wonderful. Yes.
Oh, okay. He's not here. Mama B says he's not here, but we appreciate your passing the greeting.
Yes, thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Well, do we want to wait another minute, or do we want to go into just a settling practice with Bante first and foremost?
Oak Island, North Carolina. All right. Yeah. Whatever. I'm good. I'm flowing. Whatever y'all want to do.
I'm flowing too. Bante, how are you feeling?
Oh, I feel great. Wonderful.
But I have a question. Are you really in a thatched structure at this moment? It looks like we're in Uganda.
It is actually. It's a thatched structure. African style.
Exactly.
I want to create African style. I'm look like in somewhere in Ghana.
But in reality, where are you joining us from?
In reality, I'm joining you from Key West. That's
Florida.
the reality. Yes, Key West. Mm-hmm. USA. Awesome. It's lovely and sunny, as you can see.
Yeah, we need some of that sunshine in DC today.
Right. Nice and warm, actually.
Okay, well, Bante, would you like to lead us in a short guided practice, and then we'll get our program rolling?
Okay, let's do that. Just a moment. All right, so it's about 5 minutes?
Yes, please.
Yeah, please.
Okay. Settle back in the present moment. Let go of the past and future. And abide in the present moment, however way it presents itself to you. You can bring awareness to the sound around you, external environment. Be aware of hearing, whether it's internal sound or external sound. And make a smooth transition to the body. Bring your awareness to the whole body sitting here. Again, just like awareness of sound, you don't have to fix sound. You don't have to make sound come or go, but you can be aware. So you bring the same awareness to be aware of the body sitting here. You don't have to fix anything. The body is here, and the mind knows that the body is here. So be aware of the sensation as you're sitting here, where the body is touching the ground, the cushion, the chair, wherever you're sitting. And then take a few slow, deep breaths to relax, oxygen the blood. Again, the body is breathing, and the mind knows the body is breathing. You don't have to fix that, but you can be aware. Then breathe as normal as possible without controlling your breath. Breathing in, the mind knows that you're breathing in. Breathing out, and the mind knows that you're breathing out. You are actually paying attention to something happening already naturally. But your awareness can make a difference between being tensed and stressed, being free and relaxed. So relax your body. And then from that relaxed body, you can relax the mind, reflecting along these lines. Breathing in, may I be peaceful. Breathing out, may I be peaceful. Breathing in, may all beings be peaceful. Breathing out, may all beings be peaceful. In the next moments, to connect to the breath, sustaining your attention from the beginning of in-breath to the end of it. The beginning of out breath to the end of it. May all beings be well, happy and peaceful. May all beings be free from suffering as causes. May I be well, happy and peaceful. May I be free from suffering as causes. See if we can reflect on those lines before we end this meditation. Now we can open your eyes and then we begin our session from that place of peace and love. Thank you very much. That's a session for 5 minutes. Sweet and short, M and M. Yes. Yes.
Thank you so much, Bante.
You are welcome. You are welcome.
And so, inviting a brief introduction of both of us, I mean, to the three of us for our trialogue. When we were discussing this, Bante created a new word, trialogue.
Trialogue.
Trialogue. Wow.
So, Bhante Buddharakkhita is an ordained monastic, I believe in the Mahayana and Theravadan traditions, and there may be more that I'm not keeping track of.
Tradition. Theravada.
Yes. In the Theravada tradition. And I'm going to let him go into a little more detail. However, he has traveled the world before becoming ordained, and he continues to travel the world in spreading the Dharma and these beautiful practices, and especially built and founded the Buddhist Center, the Uganda Buddhist Centre in Entebbe, Uganda, on the shores of Lake Victoria, in the Pearl of Africa, Uganda, where they offer free services to the surrounding community as far as free education, free drinking water, which is very, very essential and much needed throughout the continent, and especially in rural areas of Africa, and also offering Dharmic teachings and ordination there. So that's Bante, and he's going to go into more detail. I'm Satyani McPherson, a mindfulness teacher, or I like to say awareness practice teacher with IMCW, with the Family Wellbeing Program, with the Early Childhood Innovation Network, and various and other sundry organizations who are spreading the Dharma throughout the DMV or the Washington, D.C. area and beyond. And I will let Ofosu introduce himself. Ofosu Jones-Quartey? Is that it? I've never heard you pronounce your last name. So
Okay, yeah.
I hope I said it right.
Yeah.
And Born I,
Yeah,
the musician Born I, and the mindfulness teacher Ofosu.
Yeah. Hey, what's up, y'all? It's my name is Ofosu Jones-Quartey, artistically known as Born I, meditation teacher and musician here in the Washington, D.C. area. I teach kind of all over the place these days. I began my teaching journey with IMCW's family program. Shout out to my brother Carl Skoogland and my sister Jen Jordan and Stig Rayleigh. Oh gosh, we could just keep going. So shout out to IMCW, shout out to Tara, shout out to the roots of my teaching practice here in the DMV. I also teach with Spirit Rock, have taught with IMS, Seattle Insight. Just recently, shout out to my brother Nana, and so many different amazing organizations. I am the male voice on the Balance Meditation app, and I perform musically, semi-regularly around the area and beyond. So that's it for me. And none of this would have happened. My teaching journey would not have happened had I not had a chance encounter with our esteemed guest, Bhante Buddharakkhita, at Bhavana Monastery close to 20 years ago. So let's pass it to Bhante for a formal intro.
Yes.
So Bhante, if you would share with us a little bit about your past before becoming ordained, and then your entire life journey leading up to your ordination and your current international work spreading the Dharma.
Wow. That's a lot. 5 minutes. I can say
You can take 10.
You can
if
take
you
as long
need
as you
to.
need, Bante.
Exactly.
Wow. So first and foremost, I'd like to thank all of you who have attended. I can see 85 participants. Some of you have met physically, others not yet, but we really connect with each other. And my sister Satyani, we've met for over 20 years, 30 years maybe. Yeah, 30 years. And student Ofosu is we met over 20 years in the monastery, and I'm so happy that you become a teacher and a wonderful teacher. Yes, so it's amazing, and I don't have time to thank each of you, but all the participants. I'm so happy that you are here, Suzanne, and we have Elizabeth. There's Dr. Martin in Norway, and all of you. I can't mention each of you. Really, I'm so happy to be for you to get on this platform, so that we wish even we can have more of this. Actually, I'm so surprised how many people are really attending. Actually, so anyway, my journey started when I went to. Let me see, 17 minutes. Okay, so it started when I left Uganda in 1990. I went to study as an exchange student in India. I didn't know a single word in Buddhism. I knew only the word Gautama. I didn't know even Buddhism is a religion. So then when I went there at the university, I met monks from Thailand, and then they were very happy. So I started associating with them. And now I saw they were very kind people, very, very genuinely kind, and very like giving things they had, sharing whatever they had, and really happy people. And for me, as other people, including myself, I was suffering, but I was looking for a way how to overcome suffering. So then they told me, practice meditation. Then they told me about meditation, Vipassana meditation. And now I start looking for a place where you can do Vipassana. I could not do it. So they went back to Thailand, and I was alone. I said, where can I see these other monks? They say, oh, you go to Dharamsala. You can see His Holiness the Dalai Lama. There I went. And it was amazing when I went. For me, I thought it was an ordinary monk. So when I went, they told me, no, you have to submit your passport, and then you meet him in public. So I met him in public. We shook hands, and he blessed me. He was a very happy being, I said, this is a special being, And later on, I wrote him that I would like to meet you personally. It took me 6 months to meet him physically, private. And then I told him, I like to spread Buddhism in Uganda. And he said, no, you need friends. That's what he told me. It took me over 10 years to fulfill what he really told me. He told me you need friends if you want to do the work in Africa. So every time I contacted somebody from Ethiopia, they didn't have the vision I had, and they didn't have probably the blessing I had, because I told His Holiness the Dalai Lama, please bless me. Actually, I asked him only two things: bless me to do the work, and also how to do it. He blessed me and told him, but the other thing, you need friends. So I went around the world, in India, around the world, and I finally ended up in the United States. And I met Bhante Buddharakkhita, I met other teachers. That's how I ended up in West Virginia. Of course, I did a 3-month retreat in 1999 at IMS in Barre, Massachusetts. That was my first place in America. As soon as I left the airport in 1999, I went to the meditation center. That's my idea of America. At that time, for 3 months, meditation, just seeing meditators only. I'd never been anywhere in America, only just the meditation cushion. So then I learned meditation, and I really loved so much meditation, and I decided to make my life, commit myself to practice meditation. And I say, wow, after 3 months, I said I should become a monk, because I want really to help Africa. You remember I had got the blessing from His Holiness, the Dharma, in 1994. I said, no, I really need to do what I wanted to do always, to go to Africa and spread the Dhamma, because I was suffering, and I thought I saw Buddhism and meditation was relieving my suffering, I said, let me go back and help African people how to overcome suffering. So really, that's how I started my path, really, in a very humble way. And what came next is really now to put that in practice, how to start a temple where there's no temple in Uganda, and there was no support. So I got my ropes and my arms bow, and then I went to Uganda with a Buddhist statue from Sri Lanka. And I went there, and even my mother was not a Buddhist. I didn't tell my mother that I'm a Buddhist because that's my personal practice. Then I went there, and my mother said, wow, I'd like to join you. I'd like to join you, become a Buddhist. And now she joined me and my nephew and friends and all that. So I had five disciples like the Buddha. And then I said, yeah, that's good. I'm like now the Buddha. I have 5 disciples. I can really get things roaring now. So then slowly people kept on increasing. I'll show you the tent where I used to teach. In the very beginning, when it's time to show my slideshows, you will see the picture of my first mobile temple, whereby I was just staying there at night. It would get wet, it would rain, and I kind of go in a shed. So I started the temple in a tent, actually. And later on, we start building the temple. Now it's much better. We have more people following us. And we have a school, preschool, primary school, and now we're planning to have a high school. So then our temple is actually pretty much full, actually. On Sunday, when all the children come to do meditation, it's full. It's demanding me to expand it, you know. So now we have a new center in Kampala. Dr. Martin there, who actually provided us that space. And now we have a new branch in Kampala where we can really expand our Buddhist activities. So I think those who want to know more about my work, I'll do the presentation where I show the projects, and you can see the pictures. We ordain children and the novice monks to study. And also I've written a book called Planting Dharma Seeds in Africa. So more of that will come if you want to know more about my path. I think that's enough for today because it's 17 minutes I started. Now it's 3. So about
don't worry about the time, Bambi. This is your time to share. We want to hear everything that you want to share with us.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, please. So we want to see your pictures of the temple and anything else you'd like to share.
Okay, now then I open a slide. Let me see, because that's the next thing I think is a history. Is about sharing the slide.
Yeah.
Then you can see. All right. So in my presentation, we talk about Uganda Buddhist Centre background, UB's monastic training and programs and events and future plans. We start. Yeah, that one. Yeah, so this is why I want to approaching African Dharma. Yeah, plant Dharma seeds. Yeah, I wanted to say approaching African Dharma for less trauma. Yeah, but I didn't have a chance to change it. Anyway, this is, of course, what I've told you, and we won't go through that. This is my first temple in Uganda. This was from Thailand. It's not rain-proof. When it rained, everything got wet, including my arms bow. That's how I started the temple. I had nothing. The only thing that I'm missing here is the Buddha statue, actually. That's all what I had in 2005. Yes, and then these were first disciples. My nephew, niece, my sister, and my mother. 5 disciples. That's all. And now every time they would visit me, actually they would visit me. That is 2005. They would visit me and go. And I would stay here alone and then wait until the next day to teach them Buddhism. Yes. So then my mother ordained in 2008 actually. And she's still the only nun there at the moment. Yes, but of course, in the future, I would like to ordain more girls to become like her. I remember we asked girls in our temple, they came to meditate. They are our orphans. And we asked them, do you want to dress like my mother and become a nun? They say, yes. So that's a project we have. Next project to manufacture more nuns now. So these are the novice monks they train. First they dress white and become an agarika, means homeless. And now they get the robes and then they become novice monks and then they start at school. So now you see that they ordain already. Now they ordain. Now once they ordain, we get new ones in white. And now once they're trained enough, they upgrade like this. So now at the moment we have 2 novice monks, 2 full ordained monks. So then, so now we have all these children from our preschool. All these are preschool children. Like this is even my niece. So this one actually is from Switzerland, but is African Americans coming to Uganda. This is from Germany, teaching German language at the school. So this is our temple. It's called Uganda Buddhist Temple at the moment. And now this is, of course, novice monks. Now here, the day they ordain, they look like that. My target is to have all nuns like that in the future. It's coming. I've done that one actually a couple of times, actually, ordaining nuns before. So then we do programs to teach actually even the Christian. Yeah, like this is the university. These are priests from the nearby hospital, university, the lecturers actually, but they're interested in meditation. So we started what we call international retreats and yoga. So these are people from Singapore, Australia. Yeah, so these are from Australia. So this one we had it once, but we want to have more international peace, mindfulness, meditation, and yoga. So that's what we want to do. So this UBC projects, we have already done Peace School, and we have Buddha Medical Center also, which helps us to treat the children and the community which get sick. Like we have compassion care, we have water well, and we have women empowerment projects, as we are going to see the pictures. And this is our preschool. This is sponsored by BGR, Buddhist Global Relief, BGR, founded by Bhikkhu Bodhi. So I teach them meditation, as you see, mindfulness meditation. Yeah, they are really very peaceful when they learn meditation. And now we also have Environment Day. Because of climate change, and I'm really, I like environments. I've written even a book about Buddhism and environment. So we teach children how to plant trees, actually. These children are planting trees, mangoes, at the temple. Yeah, on Environment Day. Then we have Buddhist primary school. We are going to see the children here. This is our school. We have novice monks, and we have the lay children who are waiting to be monks. Others, they're not waiting because all the children there, they are welcome to come, whether they become monks or not. We educate them anyway. So this is our school. These are novice monk, all novice monk, but then these are lay children back then, but now they are novice monks. So it's like a nursery. We keep on upgrading them. Yeah, so then we have a computer lab where they learn some skills. And then, again, this is the Buddha Medical Center. Yeah, again, our children used to get sick in the school. We have to take them too far away from the hospital. Too far away from the temple and in the hospital. But now we have our own medical center that helps. Now, these are some of the people from USA coming to treat our local people there. This is called Dr. Lee Young, a volunteer. He's a doctor, Chinese doctor. So these are water wells we have, like we call them Buddhist teams, like metta. Then people would ask, what's metta? We tell them. Then we have not put the name actually at the moment, but for us, we know them, and then we are going to put the signs so that people get to know this compassion, karuna, then they will know mudita, then upeka. It's like my student Ofosu. Children have double names. They have Sati, they have Samadhi. And chances people ask the children of Ofosu, oh, what's Samadhi? Then they'll tell. Now also, very soon in Uganda, people will ask, what's Mudita? Then that will be a teaching theme, actually. So these boreholes, they have their own names, actually. We offer borehole schools like that. Dana is another borehole we give it to school, like that. Sila, like that. Then we engage in compassion hunger relief programs. to feed people who are hungry. We've done so actually, like these are novices, orphans. Like 20 of them, we feed them. And some organization like Global Buddhist Relief, Buddhist Global Relief sponsor these programs to feed children around our area. And now they are getting enough food and their faces are very clear and very happy. So they can come and meditate. When we do this, they can come and meditate. So this is a program that we have with organizations we partner with, like Suchi in Taiwan. They donate food and we give to people who have have problems, like one island caught fire. The whole island was erased. No food, no place to stay. So we give them food like that. These all are volunteers, Uganda Buddhist volunteers giving food. Then we have women empowerment, women economic empowerment. So these are parents of our children who are novice monks. Some of them, not all of them. So they learn skills so that they can actually better manage their lives. Also, they make sweaters for our school. We have sewing machines. So what they do is like self-sustaining organization, whereby actually most of the time we don't buy things we need in the school. They make it from our program. So then this one, they will in turn get something to do, at the temple and learn new skills. So then we have, of course, these are cultural programs like Sri Lankan people living in Uganda. They celebrate Katina with us. So all these are Sri Lankan people in Uganda. Then future plans, we need to construct a Buddhist high school, purchase land for expanding Uganda Buddhist activities. We need to build international retreat center, whereby all people from around the world, you who are listening now, you can come to Uganda and you have a retreat together, and we share what we call approaching African Dharma. Yes, then it will be more very meaningful to really meet together, international retreat center, and then we need to construct accommodation for novice nuns and novice nuns. So that's what I need to do. This is our artistic impression for the new high school that we need to construct. It's going to be like that near the temple, and that will bring Buddhism to the next level in Africa. Once this is done, Buddhism in Africa will never be the same because they will learn the model we have at the Uganda Buddhist Centre, which is a community, creating a community in not just a bubble of a temple somewhere, but create a sense of community whereby we learn about how to heal trauma, how to really have what we call Buddhism with an African flavor. That's where it's going to happen. Buddhism with an African flavor. And Ubuntu concepts, learning Ubuntu, African philosophy. So this is going to be a wonderful space. So I think that's what I suppose that the proposed secondary school will provide best of Africa, which is African philosophy Ubuntu, and the best of Buddhism, which is moral education, mindfulness-based education, and compassion. I know music also, Ofosu there teaches the music, mindfulness music, and my sister Satyani there will teach about mindfulness, and all my friends around the world who are listening, I'm sure you contribute a lot when you come to Uganda. And also the school, we plan to integrate mindfulness, vocational school, training the head, which is the intellect, training the heart, compassion, training the hand, those are skills, health and happiness. Rare school we have in Uganda that have all the 5 H's. So thank you very much for listening. These are our contacts. That's it. I hope I didn't take much of the time.
No, all the time is for you. Thank you so much, Bante.
Yes, you're welcome.
And you can unshare now also, that red button at the top.
Yes.
That is beautiful. And I just want to define a couple of words that folks in the West may be unfamiliar with. Borehole, literally for water. There's in many places in Africa, there's no running water, no electricity. And so they literally have a drill to bore a hole down to the ground, to the underwater water streams of pure fresh water. Oh my goodness. It's like a stream, like if you go to a fresh stream in the woods, but it's under the ground. So it's cold, cool, fresh, nectar of God. What can I say? And so they are bringing clean water that did not exist before. I want you to really understand how significant this is. And then the concept of Ubuntu, which comes from the Zulu culture from South Africa, which is, I am because you are because I am, we are because we are. So there's the interconnection of humanity that's also spoken about by Thich Nhat Hanh in the term that he coined called interbeing. So I just wanted to say a few words about that.
Yeah, I mean, thank you, Satyani. So, this made me pretty emotional, honestly. I have some joyful tears looking at the progress. Just reflecting on, wow, when I met you, Bante, this, none of this had happened. And I remember you talking about the part of the reason why I didn't see you much in person was because you were doing all of this. And I'm honestly very moved. And just to see, because it's even more than what I knew was what's going on. You've shared so much about the accomplishments, but this could not have happened without significant challenges. If you feel comfortable sharing some of the challenges that you had along the way to manifest all of this, I think it would be wonderful to hear what you had to bump up against to do all of this.
Yes, one challenge. I had less time with my students, including Ofosu. Yes, they wanted a lot of my inputs, but for most time I wasn't available. Yes, that was, and I missed that a lot, because in teaching you learn. Actually, teaching is two-way. You learn, but of course, sometimes I made some time, and then when I come to Washington D.C., we would meet in monasteries. But that's one thing that really actually I missed a lot, having connection with a student. I ran out of power, but I'm just getting a power. Just pause a little bit. You can talk a bit while I'm figuring out the power.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Satyani, do you want to share a bit of how you met
I met Bante?
Yeah.
Sure. So I was in a spiritual community that where the headquarters are located in Rakai district of Uganda. So I was literally living in the bush, where the place where I was living at the time, in the first time I went there in 1986, had no boreholes, no clean water. So this is why I'm saying when someone brings fresh water to the people, it's very significant, because people get sick when the water isn't clean. So anyway, I was doing rural and spiritual development with a Ugandan NGO. I traveled all over the world with this community, and one of the places I visited was New Delhi, India. I didn't just visit there, I lived there. We had an office there. Wow, I'm having a flashback, Bante, anyway, of our time there. It was a very joyous time. And so I met Bante there. We were working together for this NGO in New Delhi. And the group had also gone to visit the Dalai Lama. That was before I arrived. And then after leaving, so that was like 94 to 95. I can't remember what year I too did my first retreat, a Goenka retreat. And then I said, let me find something closer to home. I went to Bhavana. And there was a couple of years later, after retreating there, I hear this familiar voice. Now, he has a distinctive voice and a beautiful laugh. And I was like, I got whiplash. That. So we're getting ready for retreat. And any of you who look at me, any of y'all who know me, I can be a little enthusiastic, just a little bit. And I just wanted to go over and hug him. And I know, oh, he's in monk's robes. I can't do that. So I was restraining myself. Bante was the retreat manager. I was just so filled with joy to see my brother, because we had traveled throughout India together, and we just have just a very beautiful spiritual sibling relationship. And so then ever since we reconnected, we've remained friends. We get together, and I help support with editing some of his writings and in creating, gatherings for people to meet with him. And I love Bante. I just told him I love him.
Your Uganda is showing a lot of promise. Yeah, thank you very much for the historic accounts. I know really still helping me with the editing, syllabus, and books and all that. So we really remain in connection, even attending my events when I come in Washington, arranging things with sister, there's Gretchen. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Gretchen all those events, I saw your mother. It's amazing. So these are moments when you brought your mother to meditate, Howard University, So you've been really actually doing a lot of things. And thank you. I think we can continue with the challenges, about this challenge. The challenge is most not connecting with my studio because of so busy schedule in Uganda. And when I come in USA, I'm busy. When I'm in Uganda, I'm busy. So then I have a few students around the world that I didn't really connect with them as much as I wanted. That's what my first challenge. 2 is financial. All these things in Uganda, most people they don't contribute financially as in Asia when you have a temple. So in Asia, the people will come together and collect money to build a center, to support it. But in Uganda, it was not the case when I started at the beginning. So in Uganda, most people were contributing some of their effort, though, which was great. Yeah, and up now they're contributing some of them financially, but not as the tradition temple when they come, or meditation centers. That was a financial issue. And still is, and then resources, human resources challenges. I found out when I was in Uganda, people who were having the skills that are needed, like designing, accounting, all people who had skills, they are not interested in what I'm doing. Yeah, they have all the skills, like the accountants, the engineer, constructors, all the skilled, they're well skilled, but they cannot join me because they're afraid of me. They're afraid of me, they think I'm a witch. Then the people who had no skills, zero skills, they really want to associate with me. So then they keep thinking that I have some people, but they're there present, but they can join me in meditation. But what about running the organization? We need an accountant. We need so the net effect. I had to outsource, and really, I had to, even up to now, I have to pay a lot of the CPA, lawyers, these and that, all these skills that normally when you're in a Buddhist country, you have a lawyer doing things for the temple. You have an accountant, CPA, volunteering their service for the temple. So that was also a very big challenge. And it's still a challenge, but it's becoming better. Then comes the shosho. Most of the time is more being discriminated because this is a new religion, and they don't know about it. So they say, oh, this new religion is a threat to them. So in fact, that led to at one point in my life, and somebody attempted to take my life, and I was shot at, and I survived. And even I've written a whole book about it, how that all happened. Yeah, but as the story is, when you have a problem in life, you go through 5 stages. Actually, 4 stages, I think 4 stages. But the German philosopher talked about 3, but Mahatma Gandhi would talk about 4 stages. The first stage, whenever they have a problem, people ignore you. And they did so in Uganda. People really totally ignored me. Whenever they saw me, They never even look at me. Now, when I just landed, people ignored me a lot. And then another stage, people just laughed at me. Every time they would see me, they say, "Oh, look," they would laugh at me. You say, "Man with that one arm," because sometimes when we dress, one arm is inside here. Others, they just really can't laugh at me, ridicule me, make a showering master. In fact, one time, one guy kicked me. I had your showering master. So I was kicked actually, and they're waiting for my kickback. I just looked and smiled. People talked about going to mental hospital, coming from mental hospital, really basically laughing at me. And then the third stage, people fight you. And I reached that stage where people fight me. That's led the shooting at, Then the fourth stage is people join you. That's where we are. So 4 stages, I've seen them. So that's where I am. I think overall is that I've had so many challenges, but the interest of doing this has superseded my challenges. So I just love what I'm doing. The challenge is keeping going. And the challenge continuing because this is not only for Uganda. I see this as for the entire Africa. Yeah. The challenges are still there. So and this challenge needs all the friendship around the world really to surmount it.
Mm.
May I
think that's
a little follow-up? Because something that you've mentioned about people fearing the unknown, even thinking that you were perhaps a witch doctor or a Shaolin master or all of these interesting interpretations.
Right.
And even threatening your life, shooting you.
Right.
So not maybe quite as extreme, but African Americans experience a similar resistance to the Buddhist teachings where people, I mean, literally they've told me this, that they fear that they're going against their religion by even having a conversation about Buddhism, no less practicing these practices. So I'm curious, how did you break through those fears to cultivate friendship with people who were once fearful of you?
Yeah.
All right. So this one actually, in the beginning when I left Bhavana Society that I was training with Bhante Buddharakkhita, I thought I'm going to introduce Buddhism the way he did when he came to America and what he's doing now. So, but I found out very quickly after a few years, like after 5 years, I said, no, I need to go back to the drawing board. I'm not going to introduce Buddhism in Africa like this, where I'm facing a lot of resistance. So what I did is to try to look at exactly what Buddha did during at the time of India. He faced a lot of resistance because of caste system, but still he managed to convert. He managed to convert most of these people who were Brahmins and join him peacefully, So now what I did is I'm not going to convert these people, but I'm going to convince them how I'm an African, though I'm dressed like this. I'm still an African. And two, I'm dressed like this as a monk, but I was born as a Roman Catholic. And I know more about Catholics because they were ridiculing me. Do you know Jesus? They're ridiculing me, Do you know Jesus? I said, well, I think so. So what I did, I took 2 tasks. Is how can I connect Christianity with Buddhism? What teaching the Christianity teach that is really similar to Buddhism? Then I started focusing on that. But even better than that, I found out what Africans believed before Christianity came. Then there I was touching the pulse of Africans. I touched the pulse of Africans that now I teach even Christian priests. I teach Christian, as you saw in the picture, I teach people who have white collars. I teach people who have veils. Because at the end of the day, whether they are Christian or not, they are still Africans. In fact, some of the time, I had the same challenge. I was during that retreat. You saw those pictures with nuns and Catholic priests. 20 of them had signed to attend my retreat. And what happened, just a couple of days before the retreat started, of course, we had made a concession for them, not like the Australian people and the Singapore people. They had to pay just minimum amount to attend the retreat. But just a few days before the retreat started, they told the father, we are not going to attend this retreat. This is a Buddhist monk teaching us meditation. They are teaching us Buddhist meditation. We are going to convert. We don't want to convert. Then I visit the father, and I remember talking to the father, and I said, "What can we do?" He said, "Well, we have 20 people dropping out. They don't want to attend." Then I asked two questions immediately. That this question I've never had in my life, but immediately I thought about this question to ask the nuns, Christian nuns. I told them, when you learn English and you get a PhD in English and you teach English in Uganda, do you become an English woman? They said, no, of course. we are Ugandan. We speak Luganda. So even if you learn English and you get a PhD, it doesn't make you an Englishman, an English woman. You're an African still. You can even learn English for 80 years. That make you an Englishman, Then next question, I asked them, okay, now you learn English and you get a PhD or you get a degree in English. Do you forget your Luganda or any language you speak? Do you forget it? Each word of English, each word you forget. Each word of you forget. By the end of your learning of English, you don't remember, I don't know Luganda language. I don't know. I said, is that what happens when you learn? They said, no. I told the father, please go and ask those nuns who don't want to attend my retreat that you're going to learn Buddhism, but you're going to stay as a Catholic. You're not going to change unless you want. It's up to you if you want to change. Just like when you get a PhD in English, you can change and go to England and stay there. And you became an English person. It's up to you. But you have to take a journey from Uganda, go to England and get a British passport. So the same thing I told them, by just attending my retreat, nobody is going to become a Buddhist. Nobody is going to change. Nobody is going to leave their religion, but it's going to improve your religion. All of them attended. In fact, the first 2 days, they asked me, you haven't talked about God. All these 2 days, you haven't talked about God. What's wrong here? I said, no, I've been talking about peace. All the time I've been talking about what God told you to do. I've not talked about God, but I've told you what God told you to do. So by doing what the God is telling you, you're already doing God's work. So now what happens is that all those people, whether irrespective of their religion, when I show up, I connect up with them from their religion, from our Africanness, that's very, very important. And that really goes back into their psyche. If I can touch the psyche of Africans, I can really now teach them how to practice this spiritual practice. For me, I see Buddhism more of a spiritual practice, that you can really actually still be an African, you can be an Indian, you can be a Christian, you can be anything, gender, it doesn't matter what, you can benefit from it. So that's why I really actually created that bond. And I think this bond is replicatable. The bond you talked about, the African American that you talked to them, and it's the same principle. It's just only touch people's pulse. When I was in Hawaii, I connected with the people in Hawaii. When I was in Australia, I connected with the Aborigines. So it doesn't matter where you are. The key is really to find the connection. I think for me, and that connection is very easy to establish. If you are doing whatever you're doing, if it's spiritual, you always find a connection. Yeah. And
could you name you mentioned the African psyche and African philosophy. What are some of the most important or foundational aspects of the African psyche and African philosophy that are in alignment with Buddhism?
Okay, for instance, I'll give you an example about generosity. Generosity is a very much African tradition before even Christianity came, So now Yes, sir. So now, yeah, thank you very much. So now, when I was growing up in Uganda with my grandmother, whenever they harvested something, they will give me their harvest, and they say, please go and give it to our neighbors. So in other words, we would share things from fire. You know, you people, light your gas and get fire, but for us in a village, you go to the kitchen and there was no fire. You have to go to your neighbor and get fire from your neighbor. And if they don't have, you have to go to a neighborhood. I don't know how you can do that. Ofosu in Washington, but this is us in Africa. So we could get our fire and start our fire, and then we start fire. And most of the sometimes where you get fire, they run out of fire. They have to go to you for fire. We are talking about fire to start fire for cooking. So we have to be generous about fire. We have to be generous about water, because every home, they have water in the modern world. But when I was growing up in Africa, the African psyche is such that water is get it from a well collectively, where you go somewhere and collect water. So all families from different villages, they have to go to one source. It was not an individual source. So there was generous of really cleaning the water well, to make sure that it's clean for everybody, making the way to the well. So in other words, I knew that generosity is one of our things that we do in Africa. So now I had studied it in Buddhism also. Then what I looked at when I was really going back to African philosophy, I said, okay, what do Africans think about generosity? Then I found out one of the saying, it is in Japadora tribe in Uganda. They were saying that there's nobody who is too poor, not to receive, not to give, and there's nobody who's too rich, not to receive. So there's nobody who's too rich, not to receive, and there's nobody who's too poor, not to give. So now I start expanding on that when I teach in African context. Then I would start with that philosophy, and then I would expand on, okay, what even a rich person need to receive from other people, because then they're giving a chance to other people to give. They're giving a chance other people to. In fact, in Asian countries, amazing. As a monk, you go there and they give you something, you don't thank them. They thank you. If I try to thank people from Asia, thank you very much for giving me this, they say, no, please don't thank me. I'm the one to thank you. Then I ask them, why are you saying like this? They say, oh, I have to thank you because you have given me an opportunity to give. So what does that mean? Is that in giving there's receiving, and in receiving there's giving. Then I would now start teaching like this and elaborate on that from a Buddhist perspective. What should we give even when you're rich? You can be rich, driving a car very rich, and you don't need anything, but there's still things that you need to give. You need to give space to others. Simply because you are so rich, you cannot say, okay, all my space in the road is mine. So you need to yield. That's giving space, which is very scarce. Most people actually make accident because they cannot even give space. That's when we have road rage, So as a rich person, you have to give space. You have to give time, because even when you have rich, you have money, but you may not have time, but you have to learn how to give it. Then you have to give respect. You have to give energy. I'm about to go to a place which is quiet. If you give me 1 minute, give me a minute.
Okay.
Give me a minute.
Okay.
Sure.
We can take this minute to just reconnect with the breath and let some of the stories that we've heard settle in, just like a breathing break.
Yeah. So I could add a little story that exemplifies what Bante was just talking about.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
When I was living in the bush, one of my friends I can't remember, I had run out of cash, and she lent me her last 100 shillings. And the Uganda shilling is it's worth cents, literally. The 100 shillings is really worth cents. But she lent me her last 100 shilling without hesitation, my friend. It's just so amazing how generous people. I find that people who have very little materialistically, their hearts are much more wide open with generosity than those of us, and I include myself in that, who were raised in the West and mistakenly have this feeling of lack. Oh, we can only have 2.5 children because we can't afford anymore, and this and that and the other. And especially since COVID, where the prices, inflation has gone sky high. So that incident is just, I can even still see that sunny day and see her face. And it was very significant to me. And when I first arrived, people literally living in a thatched hut it's not even as big as a studio apartment, who would say, oh, please, you must come eat food with my family. And they would make this literally, I'm a 100 person, I'm like 100 pounds dripping wet. And they would give me this big old mountain of food and say, please, 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 you must come visit us. You must eat with us. You must take something to drink, some water, some tea. It's this is the basis, I think, of Southern hospitality in the United States. Oh, perfect timing.
So here I am. I'm back. I'm
back. I like that. Looks very comfy. So you were talking about generosity, and I'm wondering what other integral aspects of the African psyche and of ancient African philosophies are in alignment with Buddhist teachings.
Yes, so we talked about generosity because generosity is really pretty much the foundation of Buddhist teaching, spirituality. Generosity, everybody is generous, but we have to be very careful. Just only talk about generosity in isolation is not going to help really so much. We need to see, when we approach African Dharma, is that we need to put it in a context of other teachings, not just generosity as an isolated teaching. It's not stringing all these teachings, which is really like African, which is similar to Buddhism. Is really to find how do those teachings connect to other teachings. Like, for instance, how would generosity then connect to loving kindness? How does it connect to compassion? How does it connect to other teachings? So that's very, very important. Now, of course, there's moral education. Moral education, most Africans know about 10 commandments, which is mostly given in the Bible. At least I can talk from my perspective because I was born as a Roman Catholic. But there will be probably more education in other religions. But most Africans, they forget that Egyptian philosophy is like Egypt's civilization has 42 moral rules that can guide Africans very, very well. And nobody talks about it. We only talk about an extraction of only 10 commandments, which actually were extracted from the 10 and the 42. They're called Mat, M-A-A-T.
Mat.
So Mat, that's Egyptian. Before African was divided into scrambled eggs, it was one piece. That was 18 something. When I see my brother Ofosu say from Ghana, I'm from Uganda, sometimes I have a smile. Yeah, I understand the political divisions, but let's talk about 2,000 years ago, because these rules existed almost 2,000 years ago. The Mat, before even Moses structured them into 10 commandments, which most African people follow. So now I take that template as the moral education that actually will see African really go to the next level in terms of giving a kind of a moral compass of most of our African people. So there's a lot there. I cannot go one by one. Then there comes even we may not have insight meditation in Africa. The word insight. I remember one time I was going to Japan to have a conference on about meditation, different kind of meditation. I tried to float the idea to some of my African people about meditation. They said, no, meditation is an Asian thing. Then I asked them, okay, what do you mean our grandfathers used to sit on a chair, in the evening and just contemplate and just stay there and be still. And then I tell them, do you know even this Psalms from the Bible, which say that be still and know that I'm God. Be still and know that I'm God. So that stillness, being really being able to set on the present moment, it's an instance already we have in African tradition. Just find time to slow down, to unplug, and be quiet. Well, there they say that, okay, be still and know that I'm God, but you can substitute God for anything. Be still, know that I'm nature. Oh, I am enough. Be still, know that I'm enough. I like it comes from that stillness to know that I'm enough. Am I right, Ofosu? But
Yes.
if you're so much not having stillness, then you don't feel that you're enough. From that stillness, you feel there's fullness. So we can connect a lot. I can go on about how things can connect very well. Yeah, because I feel that this is an ancient tradition. Buddhism is an ancient tradition. We talk about 2,600 years ago, and this is the Buddha. We talk about the Buddha, the current one. But that tradition is also old. But also, I see African tradition is very old. If we talk about math, it was 2,000 years ago. Yeah, if that's what we're talking about. So then we can equate it to what was there then. When the math was there in Egyptian civilization, we can count on that. Other than counting on what came later on, we can use it as an inspiration, but we need to go back with Egyptian, African philosophy. Mali, there's some Timbuktu. There is wisdom in every part of Africa. It's there, actually. It's there. Even you may say that people have dead, those who for the teaching, the wisdom in Africa, but it's already ingrained in the language, the expression, the people's life and all that. You just have to be quiet. I'll give you an example. When I was in Melbourne, in Australia, I read, I was in the library in the University of Melbourne, Monash University, and I read about Dadidi. It was a book on healing intergenerational trauma, and I read the concept of Dadidi. I'm telling you, I had to fly to Darwin to really talk to the Aborigines who came from Africa. What does the word Dadidi mean? And I went to talk to an expert of the Aborigines. So I went there. I met them. One of the researchers there. They told me this word means deep awareness listening. Deep awareness listening. Is that not mindfulness? So I said that gave me courage that yes, I can find a connection between our African philosophy and what Buddhism has to offer. Yes, Sister Satyani, I think that's enough.
I'm going to jump in real quick because we have 20 minutes left, and I know folks probably who have joined us probably have questions. I know we had some other talking points, agenda items, but I feel like a lot of it was covered. And right now, Bante, we are experiencing a moment here in the States where people have. There's been another incident of really severe police brutality, and we have ongoing problems with racism. We have war in the world, etc. And I think I just want to speak to those, but also to say that just listening to your story and the challenges that you've overcome and how you have a kind of optimism that allows you to see the connections that all of us have globally and as African people is very inspiring. But I think we should give some space to our guests who've taken time to join us to see if they have any questions. Satyani, should we do questions in the chat, or should we do questions by hand raise? Maybe folks would like to, or maybe both.
Maybe if we put them in the chat, and then you can feel free to choose some. There are already several very.
We do have some questions. Yeah. So maybe some questions in the chat, and we'll do our best to pull from a few of them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. So if folks have, let me see, because Jay's here. What's up, Jay?
Right.
Wow.
Our sister.
And.
But I saw if we scroll through, there were some previous questions, and people can feel free to add more.
Yeah.
I'm trying to scroll through now. Well, the first one I came across, I just scrolled past it. Okay. Patricia from New York City, my fellow homie, excuse me. I am curious about the self-pain relief and self-healing methods that are taught at the medical center at your Uganda Buddhist Center, Bante.
Mm-hmm. Okay, this one is we have from time to time people who would come and teach. Like even this year, we had another medical doctor who come to the medical center and teach our community how to heal things like headache, a little pain, but touching some pressure points, like there are some different pressure points, doing some exercise, others teach yoga, but these people, like mostly they're from a Chinese background, so they know different parts of the body to touch in order to heal the pain. I cannot illustrate them here but they are there in their tradition. They say, okay, now if you have headache, do like this and roll like this. If you have this, then you touch here like this. If you have this, you touch here like this. If you have this, so different parts of the body, and it's amazing. They teach the people, they learn to heal themselves, and also they can heal others. So this is something that I'm not myself trained in that, but we invite people from so far those people have come. They are Taiwanese Chinese, come from Los Angeles. One is a Chinese doctor, medicine. Another one is a medical doctor. All of them, they are really very well trained to really help the local community who don't have access to money. I mean, to treat pain in the regular medical centers. But of course, the recent program we had, this doctor came with injection. So like people who have really like severe pain, they would actually do the injection. And that injection will last for 3 months. So it's all a little bit complicated when it comes to injection. But for self-healing, these are normal things that we normally learn in yoga, and it's touch pressure point and release the pain that you have. That's what I would say.
Thank you, Bante. And I was reading another question, but go ahead.
Yeah. Was it the question from Jules?
Please go read Jules' question. I'm not there.
Okay. The question that I saw was just what does the government of Uganda think about your work? Have you interacted with members of the government? Curious question.
Yes, I've interacted by the member of the government, but mostly I like to interact more with the cultural leaders, like the king, the chiefs, because those ones, they stay all the time. But the government, they keep on changing. So, so I remember I interacted with the government, and the vice president of Uganda is called Edward Satyani, and we invited him to a Buddhist conference in Japan, and he attended the Buddhist conference. And when he came, he really actually he came to the temple. He came to the temple and gave a speech at the temple, and so they said that they would like to support Buddhism to grow in Uganda. So while they say like this, but they have not put anything in practice that this is the government supporting like this. But for me, what I see is that though the government has not donated the money to a certain project, but I see we have a good relationship with the area mayor. Then when we want approval, like for the school program, school plans, the mayor, because he knows what we're doing, like to give water, clean water to the people. So they actually approve these things quickly. And in fact, they even said, "Oh, you don't need to pay a full amount. You pay half the price." But as a mayor, I'm going to write a letter. So we get some kind of moral support and a little bit of easy to approve things, because they know that what we are doing is helping Uganda as a whole, as a country. Yeah. But of course, the government is not fighting us, which is good news. By the way, when I first registered the organization, I had a big problem. When I went to register the organization, the people ran away. They said, "We thought you're witch." So now here I am, I'm registering the non-profit organization, and people who are handling my paper, they are run away from the desk. So that's a problem. And then they say, "What organization are you registering?" I say, "Oh, yeah, Buddhism. What are your principles?" Or say, we don't kill. They throw the paper to me. "No, please take away. We cannot register an organization. You cannot even defend yourself." What if somebody's come to kill you and then so that's the beginning of the government approach. But now that is no longer happening, that they are not fighting me, but also they are not doing a lot of help. That we see that temples in Thailand, Burma, the government really actually help, because they have a Ministry of Religious Affairs. So the government really helps because the ministry is there. But no, the Uganda government is not helping in that capacity. But I'm very happy where we are, our relationship with the Uganda government, because if there's anything to be done at the local government, it's easy, because we have established that relationship. And the way we did it was inviting them whenever we have events. Whenever we have events like Visak Day, Katina, we will call the mayor, a minister, and of course one time the cultural leaders. Actually, a few times we call cultural leaders the kings. They come and participate. So yes, we are good in terms of our relationship with the government. It's not as bad as we started.
Thank you, Bante.
You're welcome.
Well, there's a couple more comments. This is a comment from Suzanne. In Senegal, they say, quote, "If more people come to the bowl, there will be more food in the bowl." If more people come to the bowl, right, I guess, then there will be even more food in the bowl as more people come.
Yes, that's beautiful.
Suzanne? Yes, Suzanne sharing. She said this is a saying from Senegal.
Wow! Hi, Suzanne is a wonderful friend. I met in Massachusetts. We work together. Helping me to fundraise and working together. She's such a wonderful person, sister there. So thank you very much for the contribution.
Yeah. And then, well, Patricia shared this privately with me, but I want to bring it forward. She shared that every time you talk of living in the bush, which I just did, it lands as offensive because it plays into stereotypes about Africa. And I'm wondering if you could comment on that, if that's a sentiment that is held by indigenous Baganda or Ugandans. And if so, then what is preferred?
Who said about living in the bush?
I did. I said I lived in the bush.
I was wondering when I said it.
No, I said it.
You see, the thing that for me, from a Buddhist perspective, when you look at Buddhism, Buddha was born under the tree. He got enlightened under the tree, and he passed away under the tree. So we prefer to be in a forest, because that's when you can learn from nature. For me, I wouldn't take it as an offense, because we have a farm in a bush, and most of the time I leave the city and go to the woods, forest. Yeah, to go to the forest, and see the trees, and that's where you find birds and all the things. So basically, since I didn't say it, I don't know what you would say it, but for me, as from African tradition, I see even like the connection with the nature is amazing. Why people prefer to stay in a forest. It's about what people call backwards. It's actually the opposite, you know. Yes, most even people they run out from. Of course, Africa is modernized. We have cities, many places. But where do you find peace? Where there's not much sound, where there's nature, birds and animals, and the things that we can learn from in a very, very peaceful environment, is always in a forest which is not touched by modernity, modern world. So I would take it as a, from my perspective, is not as a stereotype, but for me, I will take it that if I'm talking about a bush, I'm talking about a forest, and a forest is a place to go for refuge and learn from nature. I want always to live closer to the forest, not clear the bush and the trees, and then I live there. I want always to be connected with nature. I like to be like in Amazon. I want something to share. I like something to share, you know. Like if you come to Uganda Buddhist Centre, we are creating even a forest in a place. So I wouldn't say that on face, but I want to go to something that Susan about the more people coming to the ball. I have something about lights. When you open, you put a light like this, and you have one light candle. It's not so bright. Then you bring another candle. And you light another candle, those two candles lighting, and the third one, the fourth. It's amazing. The more candles you bring, the more lights. So I bring always that metaphor of lights. So I just feel that that's what we need to have one candle after one candle and light them in African Dharma.
Bante, again, being mindful of time, this is a question that we had on our agenda that I think would be helpful for many of our guests gathered here. And then after this question, we can talk a little bit about how people can support you in your work. But just many of us, I think 99% of us who are gathered here, 99.9% of us who are gathered here are lay people, meaning that we're not ordained monastics, but we all clearly are here because we have an interest in Dharma practice, in mindfulness, in meditation, in these practices of kind presence. So do you have any advice for it, now that you are a very seasoned teacher and you've met with all sorts of people around the world, all kinds of practitioners, how can we as lay practitioners continue to practice the Dharma in our lives? Do you have any advice for us?
Yes, I have advice for that. And that's why I wrote a book called Drop by Drop. You can find on the website, it's called Drop by Drop. So as the lay person, actually the good news, here's the good news. The Buddha, when he presented his teaching on the Noble Eightfold Path, he said that this teaching is good for lay people, monastic, that means monks and nuns. It's good for all. That's why he gave a stamp of approval that his teaching is to be practiced by all people, householders, the monks, and so it's universal. That's why, to make sure that this teaching the Buddha gave that we need to practice, when it kept the teaching on right action, it is only three things: abstain from killing, abstain from stealing, and abstain from sensual misconduct. Sexual misconduct. So it's only three that we need to as people, we need to practice a minimum in terms of meditation. Of course, in terms of moral education, we have the 5 precepts. We need to follow the foundation. Once we have that in place, are the 5 precepts. Once that's in place, that provides the foundation. And now, the next teaching that you need to go to is you practice what we call generosity. I was talking about being generous in many areas, because when you're generous, you receive. Then then the last practice, not in terms of your practice, but in terms of my sharing, is that you need to do what you call moment of meditation from time to time. You may not get the 2 hours monks we get in our monastery, like in a stretch, like 1 hour in the morning, but get some moments in your life whereby you know that, okay, I will get some 5 minutes here, another 10 minutes here, another 1 minute here, another 5 minutes. That all adds up, you know. Drop by drop, a wise person fill the bucket with a bucket will be filled with water. As a wise person, drop by drop, the mind will be filled with wholesome states of mind. So now, as a lay person, you need to look at the practice in a more broad way, whereby you look at meditation not only to sit on a cushion, but in terms of filling each drop by each drop of wisdom or wholesome states of mind. So in other words, don't underestimate 2 minutes of generosity, 2 minutes of kind words, 2 minutes of loving kindness, 2 minutes of connection with the. So 1 moment of mindfulness. So you have to gather those moments throughout the day, you know. So then you have, I always call it even M&M, M&M, minute meditation. So yeah. So you see, as lay people, we say, you know, on the weekend when the children are sleeping, I go and meditate for an hour. Then 1 hour you don't get it. So then you miss the 1 moment that you had and you postponed it. So for me, that's what I did, because I was born as a monk. In case it's not obvious, I wasn't born as a monk. So I had to struggle myself like that. So try to get every moment. Once the day begins, remember that saying is called drop by drop. Even drop by drop, an unwise person will be filled with that wholesome state of mind, just like a bucket will be filled with water also. So this is what I will advise. Now, what meditation can we do as lay people? If you practice generosity, do what you call dhananusati, mindfulness along with your generosity. If you've been keeping maybe 1 precept, 2 precept, 3 precept, 5 precept, that's the minimum requirement for lay people. Do what you call sila anusati, means mindfulness of recollection along with your ethical conduct. It's because that's already you are doing. If you really think that small thing don't matter, the Dharma said that you sleep with a mosquito in a mosquito net. So if you think that small thing don't matter, so small thing matter, even that drop of mindfulness, that drop of reflection on your sila generosity, it matters a lot. In fact, I did that experiment myself, whereby 1 drop, I was at Bhavana Society, I put a bottle like this, and 1 drop was falling from the roof. 10 of them were going out, and 1 was going inside. At the evening, it was full. So in other words, I made 2 experiments. 1 was a big ball where all drops were going there. And the evening, I looked, it was full. I said, no, that's not my life. My life as a lay person, many drops are going out. They're not going into the bottle like that. I'm unmindful sometimes. I become forgetful. And then maybe in the evening, I put 1 drop. So I said, let me do an experiment just with the Buddha's teaching of drop by drop. I said, this time the Buddha didn't tell us which bucket. So I'm going to put a bottle with a small name. I'm telling, I would observe after lunch. I would see all the drops going outside. But once in a while, 1 would go there. By evening, the bottle was full. So I knew that as a lay person, don't worry about the drops that are falling off the radar. Just count on what goes on, and then that will accumulate. And it has what we call an effect finally. So just keep on drop by drop, and using the Noble Eightfold Path. Actually used what we call the Noble Eightfold Path as a template. If you cannot remember it, I can even give you a way how to remember it. Visa, American Express, and MasterCard. Put that one right there. You have to have those 3 great cards. Visa, right vision, right intention, right speech, right action. That's Visa part. MasterCard is mindfulness, concentration. That's MasterCard. American Express, put in the effort. Ease, Express stands for the effort. That one we have to use a very complicated word instead of livelihood. should be alimentation. Alimentation. I'm going to write it. Alimentation. Livelihood. The way you earn your livelihood is very important. Alimentation. Alimentation, which is an equivalent of livelihood. Livelihood. That's another livelihood. So then livelihoods. Livelihood. Then we have the. I'm entering it. Why is not entering? Okay, that's the 3 credit cards you need as a layperson. Yeah, don't forget them every day. Those are the drops you need to count from time to time as a starting point. So one time you have a vision. Yeah, you have a vision that when you do good things, you get good things. When you do bad things, you get bad things. That's already a good vision. You start there. Then the intention. Then the speech. Work on your speech. Then the action. You people do some good actions. Then go to the mindfulness. Get the mindfulness of your ethical conduct, your generosity, and then loving kindness. This is very common. As a person, like my student there as children, 4 children, I think now. Yeah. So those children have taught me the 4 Brahma Viharas. They have taught you mudita, appreciate the joy, when especially they go to college. They have taught you loving kindness. They have taught you compassion and equanimity. I'm sure you're all there. Then you still ask how to practice Dharma in their life. You are reading right there. Right there. So the 4 Brahma Viharas is also very important as a layperson. I think that's enough that I've shared. If you can remember those 3 credit cards.
Yes, indeed. Thank you.
Thank you so much,
And I
Bhante.
thank everyone who's hung on for the last couple of extra bonus minutes.
Yeah.
And we're just going to take maybe 2 more minutes for Ofosu to say a few words about Dana.
Okay.
And then we'll give the dedication of merit.
Yeah. Yeah.
And close out. And we understand if you have to leave now. Yeah. And we appreciate those who can stay.
Yes, yes. Well, just again, a huge thank you to you, Bante, for offering your time, your story, your wisdom, your words of encouragement. It really, really means a lot. Very moving for me, and to be here with my sister Satyani. Thank you. So we all saw the amazing work that you're doing at the Uganda Buddhist Centre. Many of you, when you registered, offered a donation. So all of the proceeds from today's event are going to support the Uganda Buddhist Centre. So just so you know, 100% of the donations will be going to support Bante Center. If you wish to support more or to have a link, a direct connection to continue to support, please look out for the follow-up email that will be coming your way, and that will have a link where you can continue to support the UBC. As Bante has shared so eloquently, the power of generosity is reciprocal. When you give, you get, and it's something that you can bring mindfulness to, and generosity can be one of those drops that that fill our lives with wholesomeness and good feelings. So a gentle encouragement to practice some generosity. You see that there's a lot of remarkable things happening at the Uganda Buddhist Center. So be on the lookout for that follow-up email. And yeah, thank you all so much. I'll pass it to Satyani to bring us home.
Thank you, Brother Ofosu. And I'll just add another word, that dana, or the practice of generosity, as Bante has emphasized, is a spiritual practice that goes hand in hand with our meditation practice and all our other ethical and moral practices. And so, if you wish to bring your hands together in front of your heart, as we dedicate the merit of the words and the practices that were shared here in the last hour and a half plus, we dedicate the merit of all the words that were shared in the chat, all of the thanks that was given, all the acknowledgements that were given. We dedicate all of this to the elimination and alleviation of suffering of all sentient beings, and for the liberation and the awakening of aware presence in and as each and every one of us and in all beings here and now. Ashe. Sadhu.
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 Sadhu. Yes.